you get to be the voice of reason here in a very much a cartoon world, and Brian Lee O'Malley since 2004 has been creating this world, and it seems to suit Edgar Wright perfectly when you look at Spaced and Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. For you, was that easy to be the one in a way who kind of reacts and has to sort of be sensible when everybody else is suddenly launching into martial art crazy or being psycho? Or?
Yeah, I think it was actually. I was so impressed with some of these performances, like from Mae Whitman and Brie Larson, like how over the top they go, and you know, that is perfect, and they did such an amazing job. But it was almost a relief to be a person who exists in reality in a world that some of these other characters don't really exist in, and it was also you know, fun to be kind of an audience member to the fight scene, and try to imagine, like, if this kind of thing happened, what would my reaction be?
But of course, you didn't get any industrial air cannons shot at you or any cables to yank you up into the air. And
no, and believe me, when you're watching a friend be yanked around on wires for like 12 hours, there's nothing but sorrow in your heart.
Sounds like
there's not envy.
Sounds like a good party. It sounds like it could be all right. That world too, that I know wasn't out yet, but at times it reminded me of Kung Fu Hustle, and obviously Michael Cera brings a certain Canadian calm that he's sort of brought to other movies, but that sort of wonderful approach that Edgar took, that it is like a comic book, that you know the graphics would even give Adam West a hard on, all these crazy moments of just trying to understand what's going on in his head, outside his head, and for you, was there a certain thing that grabbed you then when you saw this? Was it that you felt, well, this is a character I can play with, or was it just that you thought, well, this is going to be a wild one?
I mean, I knew that I wanted to do it as soon as I heard that it was Edgar. I was, a huge fan of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and once I was cast, Spaced was released in the States, so I got to see that. And the books are so cool and so unique, and I had a hard time kind of imagining what it was going to look like, and when I got on set, they had a scene ready, and they showed me the Lucas Lee fight with the skateboards, and I was like, oh, so this is just going to be unbelievable, and I was just like so happy to be involved in it, and just sort of hoping that I could live up to what had already been created.
Well, it's a world away from something like Up in the Air and rocket science, and that notion of acting in the middle of a movie that is so laden with pop culture and effects and irony and all those sort of all that cool. I don't know whether the acting side of it is quite easy to find that space in the middle where you've got to remain true to a character that's surrounded by crazy.
I think just being with such a talented cast really helped me. It's definitely a tricky line to walk, and I think we were really lucky to have such like veteran performers, because there's a lot of young people in this cast, but most of them have been working forever, and we're just really lucky to have a bunch of pros, and it really felt like everybody, even though we were all on our own kind of crazy wavelength, it somehow all worked together.
I know that you've been kind of, I guess, getting used to praise because of the fact that your first acting role at 12 on Broadway when you did High Society, you got Tony nomination, you got some awards for that. Certainly in the last few years, I know with Rocket Science, that kind of put you on the map in a big way with Hollywood. Variety that year made you one of their 10 actors to watch, and now, of course, with the Oscar nomination for Up in the Air, and there just seems to be, and you won about like 437 different nominations and awards for Up in the Air. Does it get kind of dizzying? Does it all feel very natural? It seems, especially in the last 3 years, it seems to have just shifted up so many gears.
No, it doesn't feel natural. I feel really lucky, but I don't know. I don't feel any different, I guess. I guess growing up, you think of someone who is an Oscar nominee as being a certain kind of person. So it's very confusing that I didn't just suddenly overnight transform into the person that I imagined an Oscar nominee to be. So it's definitely kind of confusing, but there's something that I love about that too, that all happened, but that I still drive to Taco Bell at 2 in the morning and secretly get a fajita. It's really sort of shameful, but it's the best.
But talking about that drive to, I think it was your brother and yourself convinced your mom at you were 10 to go up to New York to audition. I think, and at that ambition at that age, I don't know whether that came from anything in particular, because I think your dad's a school teacher, your mom is
an accountant.
So there wasn't, I don't know if it was a family that sort of encouraged it or whether it was just something that you felt drawn to for some other reason? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. I started so young. Like I started in community theater when I was like 5. So I don't know. At that age, like some kids want to play soccer and some kids play piano, and that's what I wanted to do. So I don't know why, but I'm glad that it worked out.
And the fame side of it, that you know, when you're in something like Twilight, which is, you know, this Pokemon for pubescent girls, there's a craze around this whole.
Pokemon, that's amazing.
But that notion that it's just so fevered for a lot of people, I don't know whether that side of it has sort of infringed upon you. That's been slightly surreal. That, you know, you've got a great acting career, you've got these interesting roles, and yet this other thing exists, like Harry Potter. Like certain franchises just happen that they exist outside any kind of critical or understanding, that they just make it big money. Does that ever kind of come into your everyday life, that people kind of hit on you for that? And
no, I've been really lucky as far as those films are concerned. I know a lot of people involved in those films have had their privacy stolen, and that's really sort of a shame. But I've been really lucky. Like maybe every now and then, like a 12-year-old girl will just scream at the top of her lungs. But other than that, like, you know,
I get that
most
too.
most of my day-to-day does not involve that.
I get a lot of girls screaming, but it's not for the right reasons. So,
Aw.
yeah. You've got a few things coming up. You've got Live With It with the beautiful Seth Rogen and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and you've got hopefully, well, Breaking Dawn, obviously, and then Paper Wings. Which of those three?
Oh, no.
No Paper Wings.
IMDb lies. You should know.
Okay,
IMDb lies.
that's true.
No, Paper Wings, I did a table read. Reese Witherspoon, I believe, is playing that role. They asked me. She was not around, and they wanted to do table read, and they asked me, and I was flattered.
Right. Oh,
so
okay,
I
that's
just
how
did
these
it.
things happen.
Yeah.
But which one of those do you recommend? Any of them worth seeing, do you think?
I think, well, I don't know if it's actually going to be called Live With It or not, but
Okay.
it's whatever it is. I think that one's going to be really good. And as far as Breaking Dawn goes, I know nothing. I promise you, like, you will find out before I do.
Okay, I'll let you know then when I know. Okay.
Okay, great.
Rock and roll.
Thanks.
Nice to see you. Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Have you got time here, or are you being shot straight out?